Hello, my name is Sarah. So, all about protecting the sleepy conscious. So, we all know what the sleepy conscious is because we are all trying to currently obtain a sleepy conscious. Maybe some of us already have, but usually it's kind of like a lifelong sort of process or just a constant working at sort of goal, if you know what I mean. So, the opposite of a sleepy conscious would be an alert conscious because we all naturally do wrong things and we sin and we make mistakes. But as we're trying to obtain the sleepy conscious, we grow as individuals and we are trying to right our wrongs and learn from our mistakes. At least, hopefully, that's what you should be doing because that's what our our conscious spirit is trying to accomplish. And the term where it's derived literally means like a sleepy conscious as having a good conscience and being at peace and having positivity and having gratitude, all of that sort of stuff. Peace, basically, so you're able to fall asleep at night. Basically, nothing is troubling you, but take it so far as a sleeping conscious because you're trying to obtain, like right now in your life, you are alert and you're alive, but you know, your conscious knows, and you know that you're going to die. Your spirit, so you're going to die in this life, and you want to be able to fall asleep. So dying is our falling asleep. Dying is our being sleepy, and we want to leave in peace. We don't want to have unfinished business or guilt or regrets from our life that we lived. So obtaining the sleepy conscious, your conscious knows, and you know subconsciously that you want to obtain the sleepy conscious because you want to be able to fall asleep, which is die. That's what your spirit is trying to do. So okay. But right now, this is why it's so important to explain the sleepy conscious because, I say this a lot, but I don't hear people talk about it. So let's get into it. So an alert conscious. So why do you have an alert conscious? So I've already explained, of course, because we all have wrongdoings, we all make mistakes and sin and stuff, but I'm gonna get a little bit specific, just so we're completely clear. So lying because you have to then remember your lies, and it's obviously more brain work. So if you have more brain work to do, you can't fall asleep. So while I'm going throughout this video, think literally like falling asleep, like going to sleep like you do every night. But then you can also think of it spiritually as in sleeping when you die, okay? You want to be able to peacefully die, sort of thing. So lying, so you have more brain work piled up. You have to remember your lies. You have to create this sort of identity through your lies that is not true because it's a lie. So you've created this sort of like false identity you have to keep up with, which I think is like really like spiritual warfare, and it's like a fight with yourself. So if you've created this fight with yourself through others that you've told the lies to. Okay, second would be talking bad, untruthfully, and misunderstandings specifically about others. So, okay, I could really go like deep into this topic, but I feel like talking badly about others is like so taboo and something that you really, really should not do, because I feel like we have no place, like you will never have a place to do so. If you think about it, like, this is why, like, I bring up, like, manifestation, and like the words that you say hold so much weight and gravity. And even if you're like gossiping about someone else to others, you are kind of having control over a person, but we should never have control over others. Like, if you think spiritually, only God should be able to have any control over anybody. So it's kind of like when you choose to gossip about people, it's sort of like you're playing God, because it's kind of like whoever you're gossiping to about another person, about this other person, it's like you're trying to obtain some sort of control over this person's image. And I think it's really spiritually wrong to ever try to be in control over anything. So even like, I mean, like, whatever you really think about this person, I wouldn't do this. But talking bad untruthfully, meaning that you misunderstand people, just assume that you don't understand this person, you don't have any place to establish any control over their image, etc., etc. I think very taboo. Okay, let's move on from that. Third, talking about the negative past. So your negative past. So I think that this opens up doors. So whoever you're talking to about this negative past, it opens a door for you to have an incorrect bond and attachment to this person, which is like a trauma bond, sort of, or some sort of dynamic where they are the healer of you. And also, I just think this is very, like, spiritually wrong. Like, I think that you should only have this sort of healer connection with God. You shouldn't seek out healer connections with other, like, people in your life that are damaged as well, and they're seeking, like, help from God too. Like, you can't seek advice from someone that's pretty much just as damaged. So it's always going to be some sort of like trauma bond. And also, when you share negativity about your past to someone else, maybe, or even if this person was there with you, even if this person was there when the negativity was happening versus if they're this new person in your life, okay, two bad things, still a really bad situation. One, so if this person was there at the time in your life when all this negative stuff was happening, it's kind of like by you, so there's a trauma bond there. There's a healer and the wounded dynamic going on here, which I think is wrong, and you shouldn't be having bonds with others over that sorts of stuff. I just think this is wrong. Like, taboo. Like, I don't agree. Bring it to God. But it's also like, by you bringing this up, you're affirming, think, like, your words have so much weight. You're affirming this reality about yourself, and the more that you talk about it, the more energy that you give the situation, whatever bad thing happened to you. So for example, like, if you got cheated on, it's kind of like you're allowing this instance in your life or this experience in your life to define who you are today, rather than making amends with it and forgiving it and moving on and not talking about it again. Not giving energy to whatever happened to you in your past is kind of like you're affirming to yourself and you're affirming to this other person, I'm the type of person that gets cheated on in a relationship. And then it's like that, so the person you're sharing, so it's like your friend, if they were with you at the time, it's like you are telling them that I'm the type of person that gets cheated on. And it's kind of like they're thinking that in their head too. Even if they don't want to, it's kind of like they remember it, and they will kind of think that way subconsciously, and they'll remember that about you, and they'll create an identity of you in their head based on that, especially if you talk about it all the time versus if you never did. Like, you have so much power to control who you are, because we are who we are because of the way that we portray ourselves and the way that we express ourselves. Okay? So, and if you're bringing this situation up to a person that is new in your life, it's the same thing. You are telling them and what identity they should create for you in their head. So if you're telling like this guy that you're on a date with, oh, I got cheated on in my past relationship, maybe he's going to be like, oh, I'm really sorry, but also he's going to take what you said and just be like, okay, she's the kind of girl that gets cheated on, like, and then he gets curious and he's like, I wonder what led to the guy cheating on her and stuff, like, and it just sort of creates this negative identity, and it's not good. You should not be talking about negative things in your past, and because I think that we usually do want to bring it up because we want to have this healer and wounded dynamic, which no, you should only have that with God in privacy, in the privacy of prayer. But it's like you're wanting to like trauma bond, like you're wanting to just bond with people that way. Like, honestly, not to be insensitive, but there's something wrong there. What you haven't experienced a correct and healthy type of bond enough. If that is something that you need in your life, is to bond with others over negative things. Like, I think that's a little delusioned, even though it feels so easy. You know what? It's easy to bond over others with the bad things that happen to us, but it's a different sort of connection, and there's something wrong about it. So be concerned. Be concerned if you're connecting with others this way. That's all. So, okay, let's move on. And a fourth, if you have a lack of self-awareness / introspection. So again, we're talking about why do you have an alert conscious? So a lack of self-awareness and introspection, a lack of introspection. So a lack of understanding about yourself in your waking life. This lack of means that you have the inability to be integral. So integrity, this is a big word. It's like a big theme for this video, is being integral. So, okay. Being integral is like letting people see the good, or assuming that people are watching, or doing the right thing even though people aren't watching, but because you assume people are watching. Does that make sense? Like, think about it like that. When I think of integrity, I hold integrity in myself as like of much importance. Like, I care very much about the way that I am perceived, and I like that, and I like to feel in control of that. I don't like to feel out of control, sort of thing, because it is so powerful, right? So assuming that, so if you want to be more integral, and if you want to do your own research about integrity, basically a good way to practice it is just to assume that literally there's somebody always watching you, sort of thing, and not like a hovering over your shoulder kind of like bad feeling going on, but it's just kind of like, what should I be doing right now? Is this what I should be doing right now? And you can even think of it as like your angel. Like, there's an angel always with you, and this angel is always like on your shoulder, and think of it that way and think of like, what is the right thing to do? And what is, who am I deep inside? And who do I want to be? And especially because it's necessary in this social world, how do I want to express myself to the other, which is other people in your life. So integrity can help a lot with this, and just knowing yourself and thinking things through. So in literally, like, if you aren't self-aware and you don't know who you are very much, like, how can you be integral, and how can you show the good of you to others? You can't. You can't have integrity, and you can't be integral if you don't know yourself, and you don't know who you want to portray, and you don't know the values and morals that you have. There is no way that you could understand how you want to be recognized. Like, it's an important mental concept, you know? Like, and I'm not saying at all to be fake, but I'm saying, like, you can be truly who you are, like, deep inside, and know yourself well and be so comfortable with yourself. But it's sort of a form of self-respect and self-boundary for no one but you and God and the Spirit to know who you are inside. Because it is a power that you give up to express yourself. Because literally you're the only person that can verify anything about who you are inside. And that's a power. And you need to know. That's why I have in the thumbnail like that, when exactly to shut up. And I use the term shut up just because it catches attention. But literally, like, you talking and you giving up information from the inside about who you are, that's a power. And you literally need to know when to say and what to say, and knowing that your words are affirming. Your words are saying that something is true, and to recognize the weight and the gravity about that, and the danger about that, in loving yourself as well, and wanting to protect yourself, wanting to express yourself as a certain way, is a self-boundary. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, this is so important. There is always situational warnings, right? There's always, should I give up this information, or should I keep it? Should I keep my power, you know? And we need to know how to recognize this. But yeah, integrity, like, we value company so much because it is the only thing that proves our existence. Something that proves, like, when you're looking at your hands, like, proves our existence, that I am not the only one seeing me right now. That sort of thing. I think there's a term for it, but I don't know off the top of my head, but it's like, you see yourself and there's someone else, the other, on the external, to verify that you are here, and they're able to see your face, and they're able to hear the words coming out of your mouth. I think it's like a very rooted fear in us that no one understands us. No one can hear us. No one knows that we're there, right? That would be being like a ghost or being dead. And if you have an alert conscious as well, you wouldn't be asleep if you were a ghost. But yeah, so it's like we love company so much because it is the only thing that verifies our existence. So think, like, when you're talking to somebody else, this person is verifying that you exist because what you're saying to them and what you're telling them, they're able to forge proof of you in their mind, and forge an identity for you to then project their understanding of you back to you. And that's how they're able to interact with you. That's how they're able to deem your place in their life, like deem their level of connection to you, etc., etc. So literally think about it. Like, what am I giving to this person? What am I giving to my companion? If they're going to verify who I am, what do I want them to verify to me? What do I want to tell them? Like, how do I want to express myself to them so they can verify that back to me? Do I really want to tell them about all this negative stuff, or like lie about myself and talk bad about others? Do I really want to give all of this verbal stuff up so they can then reflect that back to me? How do I want to be known? It's all integrity. Think about it that way. So let's move on from that. So notice all those things: lying, talking bad about someone else, talking bad, bringing up the negative things in your past, so the things that you've done wrong, or the bad things that you've been through. The bad things about you've been through, and having a lack of self-awareness. So that's what we went over, why exactly you have an alert conscious. So next is notice that of course these are all external expressions, which is why I bring up in the thumbnail, knowing when to shut up, knowing when to keep quiet about yourself, because when you talk to someone, you're asking for verification of your existence. Like, I hope I'm not being too out there. Like, I'm really trying to be literal, because it's literal, dude. Like, it's not too out there. Like, the choice of words I'm using, it's not too out there. It's like real. Oh my gosh. Like, okay. So basically, I personally think that we're all saying too much too freely to just anyone. So when you're socializing, consider that there are always social consequences to like literally everything that you do, and you can't keep track of all of that because also you wouldn't care to, because you don't care that much about everybody. I guess in the same amount. So basically I'm saying personally, like, we are not taught to recognize these social warnings. We're not meant to understand or recognize these situational warnings. Like, literally think, like, if you're in a video game and gosh, like, what's a good example? Like those sorts of video games where they give you options of what to say or choices to make, and of course that changes the outcome of the game. I love those games. Like, a good game would be Life is Strange. Anyway, like, think of these situational warnings where you verbally say something, because we're all about verbal right now, not too much about decision making. So verbal, when you have the opportunity and the chance to verbally say something, like, to be so careful about what you're putting out there. If it's about yourself, man. So instead of lying, so have actions to build yourself up instead of lying. About others, keep it classy and choose to say nothing if you have nothing good to say about this person. So definitely, like I've said, this is not about lying who you are. When I say, oh, keep some things to yourself, it's not about lying about who you are. So it's like, if you truly don't like someone, or maybe like there's someone that you don't like, or you've had beef with, a bad past with, maybe there's a lot that you could say about this person that's kind of bad, But like, remember what I said, you are not in any position to be in control of the way that someone is perceived or the way that someone is going through their alert conscious trying to accomplish the sleepy conscious. Like, you literally have no right. So don't say, oh yeah, don't lie. Don't project a lie, okay? Like I just said, don't project a lie out there, right? To be reflected back to you. That's not good for what you're trying to accomplish, which is a sleepy conscious, which is to not guilt over anything or to not be untrue to yourself, right? So just keep it classy. Choose to say nothing about this person. Choose to say nothing about this situation, but it doesn't mean you have to say a good thing. Literally stop yourself. Stop yourself from saying a good thing. Don't be untrue to yourself, but don't be unclassy and mess up the progress that you're making to have this sleepy conscious. Okay, next. Avoid those who want to bond with you out of trauma, negative emotions, the past. Okay, someone wanting to bond with you over these things, it's often like a get to know you. And I think like getting to know someone is like pretty important. But it shouldn't be the main sort of way that you connect with somebody, right? Like, if somebody's mainly trying to connect with you over like the past or bad things, that's a red flag. Red flag. No one brings this up. No one brings this up enough. It's a green flag. Someone getting to know you, right? But if it's too much, you bringing up something bad and then being like, oh, I'm so sorry, or you didn't deserve that type of thing. Like, bring that stuff to God. Okay? It's just weird having healer and the wounded dynamics between humans. It doesn't make any sense. There's just something really off and really wrong about it. It's almost like that's a way for you to avoid the relationship that you have with God. Is why it just really makes me uncomfortable. So, avoid those who want to bond with you or those types of stuff. Those are not real bonds. It's illusionary. You are confused. I'll just later put that in my notes, okay? Next, who do you want people to think you are and believe about you? That's our thought here. Especially with integrity. So consider before you speak, what is the situational warning at hand? Is there a situational warning at hand? You need to understand that when you're socializing and when you're going about life, you are by default, naturally, everybody is in a conscious debt. You're in debt to your consciousness right now. Because you're an alert conscious, because you've made mistakes, and you're constantly, when you're in debt, of course you're always trying to swim and get your way out because you know that the clock is ticking, right? We're always trying to grow. We're always trying to learn from our mistakes. We're always trying to figure stuff out and obsessively think and really understand everything about life because we're trying to swim out of the conscious debt that we're in just by being here and being alive, because we want to be sleepy again. We want to be at peace again. Okay? So, so like conscious debt, especially if you've ever heard the term sleep debt. If you're in sleep debt, you're in debt to your sleep schedule, right? So if normally you need, so if like for me, a girl, like I need 10 hours of sleep each night. And if I've only been getting like 6 hours of sleep for 2 nights in a row, and then on the third night I'm planning to get 10 hours, it's not, getting 10 hours would not be all the sleep that I need. I would actually be in debt at that time 18 hours if you do the math. Of course that's not realistic, but that is the debt that your body is in to sleep because you missed 8 over those last 2 nights, if that makes any sense. There's some good YouTube videos about the concept of sleep debt, and I only bring it up because it's like conscious debt, you know, like you always need to right your wrongs and grow through things to be able to obtain the sleepy conscious. So here's a meditative. Keeping to yourself doesn't mean that you're lying. Keeping to yourself is a boundary. And keeping to yourself should be a spiritual boundary that is more normal, that is more common. Like we were just saying too much about ourselves, and like literally think like nobody would know that about you if you didn't say anything about it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, do you understand the weight of that? Do you understand the power of that you're literally in control of what people know about you? Like, do you not understand maybe how powerful that is? Like, if you have control over so few things in your life, if you own so few things in your life, like you only ever own the love that you give, and you're only ever in control of yourself. Those sort of concepts, those truths, right? Consider the power and be very careful with what you're doing and what you're saying. Keeping to yourself is a boundary. Keeping to yourself is a form of self-respect. Keeping to yourself meaning you know when to shut up. You know how to recognize these situational warnings that are trying to put you into conscious debt. And by avoiding all these things I listed, you're on your way to a sleepy conscious. Okay, so in relationships, like going forward, know this, like experience and feel more in your relationships, because this creates naturally opportunity for sleepy conscious if you can just focus on just feeling in the moment with the person and just feeling, okay, versus talking and thinking a lot. In a relationship definitely encourages and creates opportunity for more alert conscious. And I think, always gotta bring this up, but I think with phones and social media, it's way easier to have these sorts of relationships where it's just a lot of communication going on versus experiencing life and feeling emotions with others. It's a lot of thinking and talking because of the phones, right? That's like how we're like connecting, like with long distance partners and everything. And I think it's very unnatural. I think it's a little strange, but like long distance relationships, I'm not gonna go into that, but consider that and take that, and in what areas of your life are you given this constant opportunity, and maybe you can cut down on that or avoid these sorts of opportunities or avoid these sorts of relationships that risk and that are encouraging your alert conscious. These types of relationships encourage the alert conscious and put you into more conscious debt, unless you're like a pro at situational warnings and knowing like how to like fight through them. Like I've seen people that are like really, really good at it. They just know when to shut up because they practiced and they know that brings peace. So yeah, you create too much opportunity to feel pain, remorse, and guilt. An alert conscious is not necessarily a guilty conscious, but it could lead to that, and nobody likes a guilty conscious. So yeah, I guess my advice, like I brought up, with this sorts of stuff, with this sort of conscious stuff, Ask God for guidance before doing things. Ask God for guidance before saying things. You can ask God about what he thinks. Just so like you know the decision you've made is a good one, basically. And this is like, ooh, this is good. One of the things that I always include in a prayer, like literally every time, is kind of saying like, God, I understand that I know next to nothing about everything that's going on, and I tell him, I'm like, I completely trust in your judgment way more than mine. And I tell him, like, I'm your student and I'm your child and you're my teacher and you're my parent, and I want this type of relationship with you. I believe in this type of relationship with you. I completely surrender. I completely acknowledge and understand that you know what you're doing and I don't. And I'm walking hand in hand with you, even if blindly. It's pretty much like I'm blind, but it's like I have faith and I believe that you know what I should say. You know what decisions I should make. He knows how you can accomplish the sleepy conscious, because when you are sleepy, you are with him, right? So that's pretty much the end of this video. Wow, it was a long one. But yeah, this video and this script came back to me because of the quote, "Good friends, good books, and a sleepy conscience. This is the ideal life." Mark Twain. So I don't know if he coined the term sleepy conscious, but it just really like got my gears going about this concept, and it's a really good concept, really great thing to keep in mind as you go throughout life and you go throughout your socializing, social life, all that stuff. Yeah, keeping to yourself is a boundary. Keeping to yourself isn't shallow. Keeping to yourself should be more normalized. All that stuff. Like, we should be more powerful and in control of what we choose and how we want to be proved, how we want to be reflected, right? Integrity, always. So, wow, this video is so long. I hope you liked it though, and good night.